Hello, beautiful people.
Hi. I would never meow. I would maybe Moew. As one should.
Moew.
Oh. Oh, fuck. Ah! That's where I don't remember it anymore. Every time, man. Neighbors woke, true. The sound of keys and pedal being pressed are almost as loud as the notes. Yeah, that's not... That's not microphone or any... That's just... it's just a very old keyboard. So yeah, but it is what it is. has crit and EM. Which is actually a good combination. But I have a few that have crit and EM. Let's get them all to... Do I need to? Okay, what's my current best crit and EM? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So something that starts with 2 lines in order to beat it. Beat it, beat it, beat it, beat it. Sorry. It basically needs to roll crit as the last thing. Attack percent is good, but I don't know if it's good enough. I guess if it doesn't roll into it, it's good. I mean, listen, I don't want to complain about attack percent, but can you give me something else? Please? Fine, whatever. Okay, no, this is not... That's just not... The fuck? Bro. Like... Okay. Fuck this game. Fuck this. Fuck this. Fuck this game. Fuck this game. Is there a team where Xingqiu is turned up worse than Yelan? Generally, any team where you don't really need the defensive utility, Yelan is going to be better. So, in my experience, I found that mono hydro when you're playing Kokomi, because Kokomi's not really reliant on doing specific combos and is very tanky, if you're doing like Kokomi, Farina, Kazuha, right? I like Yelan more than Xingqiu. Mono Hydro, if you don't have Farina, I mean, you play both. Taser, I think, when you on-field Yelan. Like, Farina, Fischl, Jean, Flex. I prefer Yelan over Xingqiu as well. Generally, it seems that use more than one Hydro unit, and that only slot in Xingqiu or Yelan, and you have to choose between the two. Yeah, because you can on-field Yelan for more damage, and Yelan being on-fielded, you're also not as vulnerable to stagger and interruption, because well, she's tankier, so it's less big of a deal, right? You're not gonna get comboed to death. But also just a lot of your damage just happens passively without you having to do anything. So if you get staggered, it's not as big of a deal. I don't know if there are other teams where Yelan would be a strict upgrade to Xingqiu. I'm trying to think. What teams do you guys prefer Yelan to Xingqiu on? With Hu Tao? No, definitely not. Again, right? Hu Tao's teams with Yelan have higher damage ceiling, but Hu Tao very much cares about the defensive utility that Xingqiu provides. So I think that outside of speedrunning, Xingqiu is almost always a better option. Rational? That's fair. Although I will say, against Tulpa, you definitely don't want Yelan over Xingqiu. In this abyss, definitely would rather use Xingqiu than Yelan if you're playing Rational. But that's fair. The thing, though, is, in Rational specifically, Yelan isn't actually a meaningful damage upgrade, because so much of your damage is coming from an off-field character, and you lose out on some waves, and your uptime is worse. So basically, it's one of the teams where you don't need Xingqiu's defensive utility, but it's also one of the teams where Yelan's offensive utility isn't actually being taken advantage of to actually bring the team DPS to a real, meaningfully different amount than it is with Xingqiu. I like Yelan and Raiden Hyper instead of Sarah Official. That's fair. Raiden Taser with Farina. That's also fair, yeah. But yeah, like, there are definitely teams where Yelan is generally just better than Xingqiu, right? That's not what I'm not denying those teams exist when I say that Xingqiu is better than Yelan overall. I'm just acknowledging that there's just more teams where Xingqiu is better, and that even in those teams where Yelan is better, Xingqiu is more comfortable to play. When the team is starving for damage, she's generally better. That's fair. If you're playing a bad team, Yelan will tend to be better. Because you can just spend less time on your carry, more time batterying Yelan, and just basically have her be your damage dealer. And if your Hydro unit is the one being your damage dealer, Yelan is better. So that's fair, that's fair. Which teams generally perform better, Raiden Aggravate or Keqing Aggravate? They're relatively similar, with Raiden teams being, honestly, generally easier to play. The main downside with those Raiden teams is that it's kind of awkward to get rotation timings that line up well with her cooldowns. So you'll generally end up not getting full uptime on Fischl as a result. But the main upside is that Raiden is better than Keqing. So it's kind of whatever, honestly. Either way, either works. I think unless you just really like Raiden, though, there's other teams I'd rather play with her. Whereas with Keqing, she doesn't really have that versatility, that large amount of options. Doesn't Canada use metric? Oh boy. Oh boy. There's a fucking meme chart going around, but it is actually very accurate. Canada units flowchart. How to measure things like a Canadian. Speed is always in metric. We don't use miles per hour. We also generally don't use meters per second. It's almost exclusively kilometers per hour. Meters per second is used in the sciences, like it because you're using like base units, so it's easier to do calculations with it. But whenever you're talking about speed of everyday objects, it's almost always in kilometers per hour, and it's never miles per anything. And then distance is where it starts to get complicated. Your height is in imperial. I know I'm 5'11". I'm not... I don't know I'm 180 centimeters. And then other things can be either metric or imperial. So if it's a distance, if it's a short distance that is not related to work, it's in meters. So if I'm talking about, like, the size of my room, or how far I am from my door, or the distance between my fridge and my bathroom, right? That's in meters. But if I'm talking about a sheet of plywood, it's in feet. Because generally, building-related things are sold in formats that are in imperial. Likely because a lot of suppliers sell to both Canada and the United States. So rather than having two similar formats with slight differences, they just fucking make one. But I worked in construction for a summer, and I don't think I ever saw anything that was a format in meters. It's all in feet and inches. And then for long distances, it kind of depends. Right? If it's a place, generally it's just going to be in metric. But, and I don't think this is Canada exclusive. I have no idea how many kilometers away things are from where I live. I know how long it takes to get there by car. I measure distance in time, not in actual distance. That I don't think is Canada exclusive. Next, temperature. Alright, for cooking, it's in Fahrenheit. If I go to my oven right now, so for cooking, it's always in Fahrenheit. If I go downstairs right now and turn on my oven, it will show temperatures in Fahrenheit, not in Celsius. Now, other sorts of temperatures, like the temperature outside, it's in Celsius. The temperature inside, it's in Celsius. The temperature of your pool is in Fahrenheit. For some fucking reason. I don't know why, but it is. Now, mass. If it's your weight, it's in pounds. Although this one is like not always. Generally, people use both, but mainly pounds. Outside of your own weight, it depends. Light things are in pound and heavy things are in kilogram. Like, the weight of my car is gonna be something that I'll know in I mean, I don't know it, but if I did, I'd know it in kilograms. Whereas the weight of my keyboard would be in pounds. Like, I have a feel for how heavy 1 pound, 5 pounds, whatever is. I have to make the calculation in my head. If you tell me it's 2 kilograms, it's like, oh, okay, so that's like 4 point something pounds, between 4 and 5 pounds. And then finally, volume. For cooking, again, right? For cooking, like temperature, it's an imperial. And outside of that, it's generally in metric. Wake up, Canada lore just dropped, real.